All right, we're back out in the shop working on the Subaru here. We're working on the second item of three that I wanted to redo on the engine here, just kind of get them up to snuff, and that's the alternator. So in this video, we're going to go over how to pull the alternator apart, what to look for, kind of the common parts that wear out, and I'll go over everything that I have to rebuild it. So here's the alternator. Let me pull up my chair. Now, I've already kind of disassembled this just to kind of get an idea of what I'm looking at, but it's fairly simple. So you take, obviously you take the alternator off the car, and then you've got, well, there's two things you got to take off first. The pulley, and there's 4 bolts that hold the entire thing together. So this nut that's on here is a 24 millimeter. Use an impact gun. If you've got a glove, use a glove and hold that while you gun it. Comes off fairly easy. Okay, so that's off. The pulley just pulls right out. Looks really nice there. And then you take these four screws out. Now, okay, there they go. Everything's flying. So obviously, you just take those out. This thing is spinning on me because it's already apart. Where'd that go? There you are. All right. Now you want to be careful because it is aluminum, and this particular alternator is over 20 years old. So I'm being very careful about where I hit on things. But if you have a dead blow hammer, it helps really well. You just put it on its side and you tap here and here, and you just kind of wiggle it off. Come on. Pull that off there. Now, when you pull this apart, there's a little bushing here that will likely come with it. And then there's going to be a housing here, and then these 4 bolts are going to be on the other side. So here's the stator. Yeah, the stator. This just pulls right out, which is kind of nice. Okay, so there's your rear bearing, which this one here will give her a spin. Oh yeah, she's got some miles on her. Yeah, that's definitely worn. So you can put the stator to the side. You don't need to do anything to that right now. Now what I did first was I took the top housing here, and if I flip this over, you've got another 4 screws in the middle here. Now you'll take those out, and this little housing plate comes off. Okay, take that off. This bushing, is obviously loose, so we'll just keep that there on the stator for now. And then the bearing. Now this bearing is press fit into the housing here, and super easy to pull it out. All you need is a impact socket, or I prefer to use impact because these can obviously take being whacked. If you have a regular socket, it will likely bend it and deform it. So use an impact, and you want to use an actual hammer, which I've got right here, because you want metal to metal contact to really punch it out. So you do that a few times, and it'll pop out of the bottom there. Okay, so there's our 1/2 of the housing. We can put that to the side. Now, if you have an ultrasonic cleaner, go ahead, throw that in there for about 20 minutes. Give it a sonic clean, make it look really nice. And then here's your bearing, your front bearing. So we'll give this a spin here. Yeah, see, it keeps going. So it's definitely worn. It's not worn out, but it's definitely worn. 150,000 miles, 20 years old. Yeah, definitely something to replace here. Let's see. So I guess kind of to go over real quick the symptoms I was having with the car. So while I'm driving it, I'm getting some flickering going on the dash, on the panel. And they seem to flicker at the RPM of the engine, which, obviously corresponds to how fast this is spinning. Now, talking to my coworker who's rebuilt alternators before, he says that is likely a symptom of the rectifier going out on the alternator. So you've got your voltage regulator. Usually you've got your voltage regulator and you have a rectifier. And the rectifier, because this is going to put out AC current, right? And the rectifier is going to take the peaks of all those AC, I don't know, your max voltage. Sorry, I couldn't figure out the words there. It'll take your peak voltage and it will keep it there to give you a constant DC voltage going to your battery, right? And to run the rest of the car. So that's the job of the rectifier. The regulator obviously will regulate it down to 14 volts while it's running, while your battery runs on 12 volts. Yeah, so as I'm looking at this here, so you'll have a plug, a 3-prong plug from the alternator that you take off, and then you've got just this other cable that you take off. So this plug goes to the rectifier. So if you follow it, I don't know if you can see my finger behind right there. So this component here, let's get a little pointer. This component is the rectifier. And these are your brushes. See, they're spring-loaded in there. And then this up here, oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. This is your voltage regulator. I'm sorry, regulator. This component here, okay, all of this, these little 4 solder joints here, that is the rectifier. Okay. Oh, almost fell down. So here's my replacement parts. Now, this entire rebuild is going to cost, well, it did cost me about $90, whereas a brand new alternator is going to cost about $150. So in rebuilding, you know, there's some manual labor involved, but it's going to save you, you know, $60, $70, maybe even $80 just going and buying one. So if you don't have the tools, you know, it's probably worth it just to pay the $80 and just buy a new one. But I like to rebuild stuff. I like to work on things. So $80 savings is a big thing for me. I like it. So yeah, so here's the new rectifier. It looks really nice. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of soldering to put those back on. Here's the new bearings. They feel really nice. Yeah, I like it. And then the regulator. Now, I didn't figure it out until about 2 minutes before I started filming. I was wondering what this little wire is. I'm like, is this something that I have to hook up? No. The brush, it holds the brushes back, right? Because these are spring-loaded. They're spring-loaded to push on the stator. Because that's, you know, that's what drives your, or that's what your electricity goes, and how it's generated in the alternator. So on the regulator, this little thing is a keeper to hold them back for installation. So once it's installed, you'll just pull it out, and then they're spring loaded against the stator. So that's kind of cool. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. So getting we'll just go over this real quick. Getting the regulator and the rectifier out, you have to do a little bit of soldering or desoldering. So there's 2 screws that you pull out. Those are these ones. Take those out, and then you have a solder connection right here and a solder connection right here. Basically, just take your little solder gun and hold it on there to melt that, and just pull it out. And then same with these. So these are going to have to be desoldered to get the rectifier out. And then it's going to have to be resoldered when the new ones get put back in. Now, I'm not going to go over that in this video. This is just kind of a, you know, a tutorial of how to take it apart and what to kind of look for. Let's see. So the windings and the magneto or the rotor, I guess. Yeah, kind of this assembly here. This can also separate from the rear housing. So you can probably see, yeah, you can see a little bit of a gap there. Super easy. Again, just take the dead blow hammer. I just hit right here, and I kind of worked it around. I hit on every single area where you screw your screws into until this thing kind of popped off. Let's see if I can get it. No, I can't. I got to pound it back off. Now, you don't want to go crazy on that because the windings, they're connected to the 4 leads right there. So if you pop this off and you pull it, you're going to be bending these and possibly breaking your rectifier. Now, if you're not replacing the rectifier, you don't need to touch any of that. Or even if you're changing your regulator, or sorry, not changing your regulator, you don't need to touch any of this. If you're just doing bearings, then that's it. Just take it apart, take your stator out, punch your bearing out, and then punch a new one in. Now, this one, I don't know how that one might be a little peculiar on how to take it out. Let's see. I'll come back in a minute, see if I can get this off, and I'll show how I did that. Alright, so I did a little bit of digging online, a little bit of trial and error here, and I was not able to remove the bearing without any special tooling. So what I found online is there's a special kind of small bearing remover tool. Basically what it is, it's just a 2-piece kind of clamp system that goes behind the bearing, and it's got a little slide hammer that you just slide hammer it and it pulls the bearing off. What I tried doing was, I'm not going to show it because I don't want anybody replicating this because it will damage this, but basically I tried taking a wide tip screwdriver and wedging in between here and prying, and this surface here is fragile and it will break. And in fact, I did chip a little bit of it off, but I would advise against that. Do not try to pry on that to get this off. You need the little special bearing tooler, bearing puller tool, Ingri. And that shouldn't be too bad. You can pick that up at O'Reilly's or AutoZone, and typically you just pay for the tool, bring it back, they pay you back. It's a tool rental fee. But yeah, so this will not be difficult to get off, but unfortunately it's late in the night, and I'll have to do this tomorrow when they're open. So yeah, that's kind of the video here to show how to pull that apart, the parts that I'm going to be replacing. And on the next video, we'll show the power steering pump pulled off and what is going to be replaced on that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe and take it easy.